All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel. My name is Azim Awath. But first and foremost, I want to say, call Halayim, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachakwadash. Double honors to the elect apostles and elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from, who rule well. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to those Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So this is not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that die in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Ma'ashah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harachach Kodash for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harachach Kodash allowed us to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect. This is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? So let's go into that word judgment real quick. Because judgment is already here in the earth, the four winds.
Strong's G 2917, Krima.
Kind of sounds like a person getting creamed, which was another way of saying getting destroyed or wiped out. It says the punishment with which one is sentenced. And that entails, a plethora of creative ways that the Most High can take one out.
Strong's G 2919, Krino.
Also to separate, put asunder, to pick out, select, choose. Because there's going to be individuals that are going to be separated or put asunder, to be destroyed. And that entails you losing the spirit, man. Deviating from the doctrine, or simply not just being of the elect. Verse 18, it says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So there's going to be a small amount of people that are going to make it out of this nuclear destruction that is going to hit America. And it's only going to be the elect of the nation of Yahweh, man, which is the Israel of the Most High. All these other people are going to be left here to burn in America, just as you've seen on the news or on these alternative news channels, where it depicts the destruction that is transpiring in the Middle East, which is really Asia Major and Asia Minor. They're experiencing what it's like to be burned. So going to Copilot says, not one day, but a present active season. Judgment is already in motion. So according to Copilot, it says judgment is already in motion. So if you haven't been doing the right thing and trying to strive for righteousness, then just because you're lingering doesn't mean that judgment is not going to come. As we see, as we pan around the world, judgment is here. Not everything is broadcasted on the news. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch. So as being seers, because I don't really like using the word or describing myself as a prophet, I like to use the word seer. Because everybody uses that word prophet. Even these so-called rappers. So I like to use the word seer, which you have the ability to see into the future. You have the ability to discern, have foresight, like an owl. Let me see. It says, what allows an owl to see in the dark? Owl's ability to see in the dark is a result of several specialized adaptations. High concentration of rod cells. Owls have a much higher number of rod cells in their retinas compared to cone cells, which are responsible for color vision. This allows them to detect light and motion in extremely low light conditions. Large pupils. Owls have large pupils that open wide in the dark, maximizing light entry to the eye. This is crucial for their night vision. Tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind the retina that reflects light back through the retina, enhancing the ability to detect minimal light. Which that was the point. I knew I thought it was like more of an oil, but it's the tapetum lucidum, that allows them to see, which the the Holy Spirit working on our minds allows us to see and be the seers of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim HaChakwadash. Right? So therefore our duty is to stand on our watch and watch of things that are transpiring and to warn our fellow hopeful elect. It says, and set me up upon the tower. And that's the reason why there were towers, so you could see over the horizon. You know, you could see in the distance, in the far distance, the enemy approaching. So you will have time to go and warn the people, right? It says, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables. And now the tables are written in paper, man, which is the scriptures, that he may run that readeth it. And really, the ones that are really reading the Bible are the blessed. This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. It says, blessed is he that readeth. You know, and it also says, with understanding. Now, of course, going into the scriptures, just as Philip told the Ethiopian eunuch, or the other way around, Salaka, the Ethiopian eunuch told Philip, how can I understand? At least someone teach me. So you need teachers. And those teachers are set up through Abba Bivens, which is John the Baptist, through the men of Great Millstone. It says, and they that hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. The time in which there's going to be a transition, you know, as we're being ushered into the kingdom of heaven, which the kingdom of heaven is already here, is through the true believers. Going back to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for a appointed time. But now we're in that time. And that's why you see these prophecies speaking. And the only ones that hear the voice of these prophecies are the ones that have the ears to hear and also the eyes to see. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, we'll see what that word tarry means. It's from Edma Online. Early 14th century tarrying, to delay in acting, procrastinate, retard. And that's one of the characteristics of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. He waits to the last minute, the last second. He often procrastinates, it seems, as, you know, to us as men. You know, he keeps you on the edge of your seat. And, you know, that's a sifter, because the impatient are not going to be patient. They're not going to wait for it, because we know that it will surely come. It will not tarry. These prophecies are not going to always seem like as if they're procrastinating. Now, if you ever been through, or if you have the experience of having a personal relationship with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, you know that he operates at the last minute. You know, because his time is not our time. Right? This is Romans chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "In that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep." A lot of these people, majority of these people are in a deep sleep. They're in a slumber. Their mind is heavy with wickedness. That's why they don't understand the scriptures. They don't understand the prophecies, because their soul is too malicious. It says, "For now is our," and that's what, wouldn't that be possessive? That hour is only dealing with the elect. It's not dealing with or including all the world or all these nations, or even all of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous, or even all you that know that you're Israelites. Even King Masha, even King Dawadah, they knew the truth, and yeah, they were exalted men, but neither one saw the promised land, man. King David never saw the temple. King Masha in these times won't be here unless the Most High raises him up to see the return of Yahweh Shai, man. The word "our," Old English, or of us, pertaining to or belonging to us. And that us is dealing with the elect, the hopeful elect. It says our salvation is nearer than when we believed, dealing with that procrastination. So we're in that time period, man. But before that great judgment falls, there's going to be judgment on his house, to trim the fat, as you've seen all these years, man, of individuals who didn't fit the mold. This is Amos chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Yasha'Allah." And that word children goes into the word sons, because he's dealing with the men. It says, "Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Madazarim, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities." And that's the reason why you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous are in the hands of your enemies and in your predicaments. And even your prophets are numbered among you to suffer that judgment, right? So he's only known the children of Israel. Which leads to the vision of slaughter, because judgment is going to start at his house. This is Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 1. It says, "He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge, over the city." Now, the city is just not a particular city. It's dealing with citizenship. The citizens, wherever they may be, right? Within the, I'll say, the union. Because within, certain, you could call a whole country a city, but within that city, you have smaller cities or towns or villages. It says to draw near even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. Now the ones that he's causing to draw near are the Muwath Alahayim, the death angels, the angels, his messengers, as they are the one that are moving and working in the unseen world, the fourth dimension, and they know everything, they see everything, they know your thoughts, they know your intents, and justice is going to be served, and judgment is going to be doled. Let's see, just in case. Right, dole, Old English, state of being divided, a sharing, the point I was making, a giving out. A lot of judgment is going to be given out in these times, in these days. It says, and behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with the writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the power of Yasha'Allah was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. Right. Which, that was an angel. And, let me see if it shows it. The writer's inkhorn. Which is historical context. A inkhorn is an inkwell made of horn, historically significant for scholars and writers. It symbolizes writers in general and has been associated with pedantic writing styles, as seen in the term inkhorn term, which refers to overlay, elaborate, or pretentious language. The writer's modern organization, let me do biblical reference. Well, I'll do modern organization first. It says the writer's inkhorn international. Okay, that's something else. Biblical reference in the Bible is specifically in Ezekiel, a writer's inkhorn is mentioned as a tool used by a spirit being to mark individuals for protection, symbolizing a divine purpose. These aspects provide a comprehensive understanding of the term writer's inkhorn in both historical and contemporary contexts. And it's the angels also that are separating the tares from the wheat. And you could say that, I guess, that the writer inkhorn represents the book of life, because those angels are going to be killing those that are not written in the book of life. Verse 4, it says, and Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city. So through the midst of you so-called blacks, Latinos, indigenous, you Israelites, through the midst of Jerusalem and set a mark upon the foreheads, which is dealing with your mind, of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So let's go into that word mark, because Esau has his mark and Yahweh has his mark.
Strong's H 8420. Tav. Tav.
Let me go into the root real quick.
Strong's H 8427. Tava. Tava.
Pretty much to set a mark. Which is Torah, it's like the Torah. You see, which is as a sign of exemption from judgment, right? So there's some that have the Torah, which gives the angels notice that this individual is exempt from judgment, right? Verse 5. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite, which, to smite means to kill. So there's going to be a lot of killed. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark. And that's the reason why you don't see men that have the faith, that have the Torah, that judgment happens to them on a scale that these ungodly receive. It says, and began at my sanctuary. So let's look up that word. Sanctuary.
Strong's H 4720. Mikdash. Mikdash.
Which is sacred place, sanctuary, holy place, a consecrated thing or place. What does it mean to be consecrated? Going into the word consecrate, late 14th century, make or declare sacred by certain ceremonies or rites, to make holy, devout. What does it mean to be devout? 1580s, appropriate by or as if by vow. Because when you come into this truth, you take a vow. Dedicated by a vow. Sacrifice oneself. Promise solemnly. It says, then they began at the ancient men which were before the house, right? Because it's the same individuals coming back, man. that are in these times to receive their judgment for what they did in their past lives, right? And he said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass, while they were slain then, and I was left, meaning Ezekiel, which is a seer, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Yahweh, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Yasha'Allah and thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then he said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Yasha'Allah and Yahweh is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness, which perverseness goes into wickedness, and that's what you see in the ghetto, the barrio, the reservations. For they say, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth, and Yahweh seeth not. And they believe that, this book is a fairy tale, man. They think that, it's just a book. It says, and as for me also, my eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. So, how about Shem Shah is going to get his payback, man? There's penalties when you break a contract. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. And you see that through different accounts in the scriptures in which the angels were permitted to slay Israel. They delight in doing the bidding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, just as you should delight in doing the bidding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. It shouldn't be a chore. And this is part of the reason why I use Copilot, just to influence or inspire someone to, you could always ask Copilot to, compile you a lesson if you don't have any topics. This is Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 29. For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name. So after exiting this Passover, which has been a heavy Passover, he's about to bring evil, bring bad times. Because, what happened in the Middle East over the past month is very catastrophic to this global economy, and especially the American economy, especially considering that these nations are no longer trading in the petrodollar. Now, when food continues to skyrocket, gas, commodities, all these things continue to skyrocket, people are going to start losing their minds because they're not being able to, do the things that are keeping them mentally afloat. Not going to be able to feed their children, not going to be able to get the same amount of snacks. They're going to have to ration. I saw a video of an individual burning down a whole warehouse because he said they're not paying a living wage, man. Now you got thousands and thousands of workers because of one man's selfish act without a job, even if it didn't pay a living wage, man. That's money that they don't no longer have. And these unemployment programs are already stretched out because of the pandemic. It says, and should ye be utterly unpunished, ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith Yahweh of hosts, which is Yahweh of armies, man. He's the one that controls the armies. He's the one that muster up the host to the battle, man. You know? Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Yahweh shall roar from on high. Yahweh is coming in a chariot, and Yahweh is going to be in the fire of those missiles, man. And utter his voice from his holy habitation. And, one point that I made was that this is the first and the last time that the spirit associated with Yahweh Shai is going to bring war. And it says in Jeremiah the 15th chapter that he's a man of war. It says in Daniel the 12th chapter that there's going to be no day like this day. So it's going to be a lot of people that are going to be dying soon, man. It says, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for Yahweh have a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all nations. And how would he plead with these nations? By destroying them. He will give them that are wicked to the sword. So if you're wicked, you're going to be destroyed, man. However that may be. Whatever is prescribed onto you. You deserve what you get, and you get what you deserve. Right? It says, he will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh. So, going to Copilot, says, if it first begin at us, point, Peter includes himself, which Peter was David coming back in the flesh. Apostles, teachers, believers. No one is above scrutiny. Nobody should be above scrutiny, man. And, that's the true form of brotherly love, man, to rebuke your brother and not suffer sin upon him, But you got to do it righteously and do unto that man as you would want to be done unto yourself, Because the Most High can easily put you in the same predicament, man. The Most High could easily do the same thing that you thought was cool to do to somebody else, and it wasn't, to be done unto you. And the same things you talk shit about, the same things that could be done unto you. It's Luke chapter 12, verse 47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will. So a lot of you don't even do according to the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. You do the will according to yourself. A lot of you really deep down don't have faith in that name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And it is proven through your testing. When the Most High tests you, it says, shall be beaten with many stripes. Right. Because a lot of you failed the test and you went right back into the world, man. You have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And it shows when you're in the doldrums. Let me see. What I mean by doldrums is a state or period of stagnation or depression. You know, even if you're in that state, you still have to call on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua to lean on, man. And he's going to get you up out of that shit every single time. It might not be on another man's time. Oh, he needs to hurry up and do that or do this. No, it's going to be on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua's time. This is your Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua's creation, and you're just to create it. It says, but he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, and if you receive this truth and you were in the camp and you were doing the work, putting up videos, going out on the highways and hedges and professing and making that vow, right? Then much was given to you. Much was expected. So of him shall be much required. That's why you got to give your life onto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. It says, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. Right. So that's something to keep in mind. This is James chapter 3, verse 1. My brethren, which means brothers, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. Let's read that in NLT. It says, dear brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers in the church, for we who teach will be judged more strictly. You know? So you got to make sure you're teaching the right thing, man, to the best of your ability, man. That's why I always pray before I do the video. I pray that the Most High gives me the wisdom to teach the believers, the wisdom, knowledge, understanding to teach the believers. I don't ask for much, man. I don't pray for too much. Besides to be led in righteousness, and if not righteousness, let his will be done, man. You know, so my movements are to the best of the ability in which I prayed for, right? But those that are teachers are going to be judged more strictly, man. Because, you know, we know better. It says, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? If the chastening of the elect is severe, and I'll tell you, boy, if I'm of the elect, the chastening is severe, man. You know? And why should I believe when someone says that I'm not of the elect? If the Most High ain't putting the same spirit on them to do and go as hard as I go for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua on them. You know, a lot of people, they'll point their fingers at someone else, or they'll say, oh, that person is now doing videos or doing this because they got kicked out or left. I've been doing videos and going hard ever since I was told to go, start doing videos. I was going out twice a week way back in 2011, 2012. doing videos every day, man, going to work, driving on windy mountainous roads, putting in that work to the best of my ability, man. So it's not like I got a diligent demon on me. I've been had this spirit on me, man. I've been doing the work. I've been doing uploads. There was a year I was doing 3 videos a day. I averaged, 21 or I'll just say 21 plus videos a week, man. And going out twice a week. Which is nothing to brag about or boast about. It's just to exhort you, to tell you that it can be done. You just gotta pray, right? It says if the chat, okay, I read that. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 1. It says, Paul and Silvanus and Timotheus unto the church of Thessalonians in the Most High our Father and Adawan Yahushua Mashiach. Grace unto you and peace from Yahweh our Father and Adawan Yahushua Mashiach. We are bound to thank Yahweh always for you, brethren, as it is meet, because that your faith groweth exceedingly. And that's what you want. You want your faith to be unwavering, man. And I remember watching this video. You had these 2 dogs approaching, and you had men that were seasoned, and the Most High showed you that, not everyone has the same faith. You had some brothers that stood their ground, and others that lacked faith ran. You have to be unwavering, man, because if you don't have that same faith as standing firm and believing in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, being like a lamb or a sheep, then you're going to fold in these times, man. You're going to be terrified. You're going to be petrified. You're going to be horrified. And that's all because you have a lack of faith, man. It says in the charity, which is the agape or brotherly love of every one of you, all toward each other aboundeth. Right, man. Which I'm confident in my agape that I had, man. Whether individuals didn't know it, didn't see it, or didn't care about it. From the day one, it wasn't for you, it was for Yahushua, man. I try to treat each and every brother as if they're Yahushua himself, to the best of my ability, man. Until you prove otherwise, man. Now, there's such thing as forward, and there's such thing as, gentle. But it's of a certain spirit, man. A lot of people, they try to mesh a worldly spirit within the spirit of this truth, your spirit of Yahushua. And, a lot of those same people, find themselves on the outside looking in, find themselves getting judged more peculiarly in the walk, in the truth. Shouldn't be no reason why you're supposed to be at one with Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. He doesn't give his angels charge over you to protect you from getting stomped out at the club or calling your car to roll the fuck over, man. That's because something ain't wrong, something ain't right. And that's just an example. It's not aimed at anyone in particular. It's just an example, man. Verse 4 says, so that we ourselves glory in you in the churches of the Most High for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure. So the elect go through persecutions and tribulations, but they endure because they are the hopeful elect. They have hope. They have faith that the Most High is going to vindicate them. They have faith that the Most High is going to have mercy on them. They believe, they have faith when they put prayers up before they leave the house or before they get in the car that they're going to make it back home, man. They have faith. My tires, well, I haven't had, I'm been in the process of trying to get some new ones. I haven't had accumulated the money yet, but my tires been bad for a minute. But I know if I pray that everything's going to spirit all right, man. Because I have faith. And that's the type of faith that you got to have, man. That the Most High is going to see you through. Or really, Yahweh Shai is going to see you through. So that we ourselves glory in you in the churches of the Most High for your patience, your sufferings. The elect are going to suffer. So if you ain't going through nothing and you ain't suffering, then something might be wrong. It says, in faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure. Most High wanted me to read it again, which is a manifest token. A token is a sign of the righteous judgment of the Most High. So the things that we go through are righteous judgments to make us stronger to endure in the days that are ahead, man. I remember when I first came into camp, I used to get rebuked for not bringing out the right precept, man. Now look how much I've grown, and that came through prayer, and that came through putting the work in and the study in. And I love going into histories. I love going into the Hebrew. I love going into all these things. I love prophecy. That's why I like touching it on it so much. It says that ye may be counted worthy of the kingdom of the Most High, for which ye also suffer. Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Right? And even in this truth, the Most High can recompense tribulation to those that trouble you. Whoever thought that some of these individuals would get the same humiliation, man? After years of putting someone through hell, the Most High put them through the same hell, and they couldn't endure it, man. A lot of you can't even endure the same punishments that you dish out. Because really, you're not here to love brothers and build brothers up. You're here really to destroy them. Because he might have said something to rub you the wrong way, or he might have told you about yourself, or Most High may have put the spirit on him to warn you about something. And that ego of yours, it couldn't take it. Like that Key and Peele skit where the dude, Peele, was a burnt victim, and he wanted Key to, joke on him. And he said, I can take it. I could take it. And then when he started to get a taste of it, he couldn't take it, man. And that's a lot of you, man, that fell out of this truth. It says, in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not the Most High, and that obey not the gospel of our one Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of Yahushua and from the glory of his power. So it's going to be a long-lasting destruction. You know, those missiles are going to be the icing on the cake. And you would think the missiles would be the worst, but it's the last. You would think the missiles will be the only thing that he's going to do, but it's just the last thing he's going to do. This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 31. Behold, the righteous shall be recompensed in the earth. So the righteous are going to be paid back in the earth, man. Much more the wicked and the sinner. So the wicked and sinner are going to be much more recompensed. They're going to be recompensed with destruction and death, man. You know? And these people, the Most High put the spirit on them to be so proud that they can't even perceive it, man. This is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 31. It says, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. You know, especially in his ire, right? In his anger. The word ire in the Etna online, 13th century, from Old French ire, anger, wrath, violence. And he's going to bring violence. You see what's going on in the Middle East right now, man. How he's bringing violence, man. This is, let me go back. This is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. It says, for if we sin willfully, and that's you going back into the world, or committing sins on the death, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. And, you know, some people will bring up false accusations, you know, just to, you know, make it seem as if you did something that requires the punishment of death. And that's just because in their heart, they want you to die anyway. They don't want you to, they want you to be destroyed. You know, and really, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is going to destroy them. It says, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. He that despised Moses or Mashah's law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thou worthy, who have trodden under foot the Son of the Most High, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and have done despite unto the Spirit of grace. Now, if the blood represents understanding, how many of these individuals accounted it as an unworthy thing, man, and changed up the doctrine? It says, for we know him that has said, vengeance belongeth unto me, I will recompense, saith Yahushua. And again, Yahushua shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living power, man. You know, it's a fearful thing, man. Going to Copilot real quick. It says, willful sin after knowledge, not ignorance. This is rebellion with full awareness. Sore punishment Then under Moses, the old covenant had death for despising the law. How much more for despising the Son and his blood? You know, this is Romans chapter 2, verse 9. It says, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile. Which, you know, the Gentiles speaking about Israelite foreigners. Because the Most High doesn't care about these heathen nations, man. It says, but glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also the Gentile, for there is no respect of persons with the Most High. So the Most High don't care what position he puts you in, man. If he want to take you out, he could take you out. Don't care how long you've been in the truth or how short. If he want to take you out, he could take you out. It says, Jew first, priority in glory and in judgment pattern. Those closest to the covenant get dealt with first. Same logic as house of the Most High. So I'm not going to read this. I'm going to just leave off with this scripture. I don't know why I always like bringing it out. Because, you know, we're in these times, man. It says, Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 11, it says, therefore, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. Right? And that's what's going to happen with a lot of people, man. Though they cry unto me, he's not going to hearken, man. That's why you want to make sure you build that personal relationship and be confident in yourself that you've seen a pattern of the Most High answering your prayers, man. If the Most High hasn't been answering your prayers, then are your prayers piercing the clouds, man? So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified. And I'm going to say, shalom.